This is Future Fork, a show that explores the world of food and the decisions we can make today that will shape our future. On the show, you'll hear from innovators in the food space. We'll have disruptive conversations with people from around the globe who are taking the lead on topics like food sustainability, ending world hunger, food security, and so much more. I'm your host, Paul Newnham. In this episode, we're talking to Greg Bramwell, Director of Food and Beverage at BaxterStorey. With over 18 years of experience leading food and beverage teams, Greg is transforming workplace dining through innovative approaches and a focus on sustainable nutrition. Today, we're diving into the intersection of sustainability, innovation, and modern workplace dining culture. You'll hear how Greg's food manifesto is reshaping corporate food service, the power of collaboration with global sustainability initiatives, and Greg will also share how his team is championing local food talent whilst operating at scale. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Really good to be here.
So let's start with a little bit of a conversation just around your role at BaxterStorey. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and what work you do?
The $1 million question. I'm sure there's loads of people listening asking the same question. What does he do? For me personally, I've got one of the best jobs in the world. Work for a really forward-thinking company that specialises in workplace dining. We tailor our dining and food solutions. So at BaxterStorey, I'm the Director of Food and Beverage. And my main role is to make sure that every chef, every barista in our business has got the tools to do their job. But more importantly is that we're promoting food and beverage at the heart of everything we do. So I come up and work with a great team on strategy. We work on a vision and a food philosophy. And also, the more importantly, from our point of view, is what makes us successful as a business is education. So we've got two wonderful that I oversee. We've got a lot more academies, but two that I personally oversee is the Chef Academy and the Beverage Academy, which is a real pleasure to be part of. And separate to that, around authentic food is really important to BaxterStorey. And we've got our own street food experience agency called Fuel, which has been going since about 2018. And instead of our chefs making or concept dining of street food, we go and get authentic street food vendors and partners to come in and educate our chefs and delight our customers in the process. So yeah, great job, always learning. And why did I end up here? Because probably I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that'd love to tell me I was a failed chef. I realised I couldn't be as good as what I wanted to be, so manage chefs instead.
What is it like in running food service for such a big catering company? What's involved?
Do you know what's really involved is listening and learning. You'll know more than me, Paul. The world constantly is changing. Diets, religious diets, the way people eat, the way people socialise. And I suppose my main job really is to always ensure that we're looking forward and don't get too complacent, really. It's to ensure that the world's such a busy place that sometimes we need time to pause. And I think I see my role sometimes as when we pause, that's where I kind of have to step in and go, let's keep moving forward. We've got this idea and get people collaborating. I don't really want to mention the C word, so we'll keep it there. But I think the art of community and collaboration after COVID really become the new currency for business and life. And I think really that's what I brought into my role. That's what, BaxterStorey are asking me to do a lot, is ensuring that we're collaborating, we're giving back to the community at every opportunity. And that new world now is I have to make sure that we're an attractive place to be for our customers and also the chefs and craft people in our business. Purpose is a very strong word now.
So you've mentioned a little bit, but what are some of the biggest challenges you face in this space and the world that we're in at the moment?
I suppose big challenges is that, if I'm really honest, everyone wants to do the right thing, but is not quite sure how to do it. So we sum it up in our world at BaxterStorey as the People, Planet, Purpose mission. People want to make sure now, we get asked quite a lot, BaxterStorey, what are you going to be doing for me, for my customers around health and wellness, and also BaxterStorey, what are you going to be doing for me for the planet and sustainability, because we need your help. Food and beverage has got a huge part to play in both elements. And I think for the last couple of years, Paul, which has obviously driven the way that we've met as well, is that we've been exploring, we've been looking for help, we've been reaching out to people because we don't have all the knowledge. So we're looking at subject matter experts to help us. But actually what started to happen is that we realised as a business that it's probably right in front of us. There's this beautiful sweet spot that looks after health and wellness and also looks after sustainability. And it really starts with the way that our supply chain and where we source our food from. And if you get those great products and great stories and these great farmers, growers and makers, funny enough, the nutritional benefits are always great and the sustainable stories are fabulous. And 9 times out of 10, the chefs are like, this is great. It's a great product. I want to work with this. And also when they get to know that individual, they're emotionally connected and they want to do the right thing by them and make sure that food story is promoted at the heart of their food creation. So we started to unlock this. So that become one of our biggest challenges was finding a food movement that the world wanted, but also our people wanted to be around. But the hardest thing for us is the science part now. The science between the fusion, as what we call it, as the fusion between seasonality and science. Most of our chefs always felt that they knew seasonality. They were never trained on the science. They was always trained how to cook and what to do great things with great ingredients, but they never knew, if you'll know, again, more than me, is that certain products now are not available when they used to be available. And that's really freaking out a chef, well, I want to put that on the menu and it's not available, chef. Why is that? Because the planet says so. Well, it's always used to be available. And I think the chef now gets asked quite a lot about what's in it for me. There's personal diets. There's those, if you think the pressure on the chef now is not just about cooking, it's where's the product from? What's a great community story in that dish, chef? What is this product going to do for me, for my own personal diet? And I think that becomes harder and harder. Obviously, we're in workplace environment, so you probably all heard about the return to work and the balance between working from home and getting people back to work. That was, of course, it was a challenge at the beginning, but I think more and more people realise they need to be around people, and we're seeing a great return to work structure and strategy coming from a lot of places now. But also what's turned out to be really exciting for us is there's no better way to get culture in a workplace than through food and beverage. People want to socialise and be around people. Workplaces now, where we are today, they're like private members clubs now. They're in a great place to be and come and be creative. And I think people enjoy that one day at home, where they can get their admin done. But also the reason for that is they're present when they're in meetings because they know they've got that admin day, and you and I know that pressure on people now with time is really, really hard. So the meetings prior, I've been in meetings where people are still on their laptops and, still working as they go. But now actually people are actually present, eye contact, enjoying that kind of social company, knowing full well that they might have one day at home where they can do their admin. But when they come to work now, we've got like a 7 till 7 culture. The workplace environment's changed. It used to be maybe 9 till 5. I'm sure there's some people out there going, I've never worked 9 till 5. But for me, when you look at our client audience, the daily work now is probably what I cram so much into my day. I'll work 7 till 7 on a morning, noon and night kind of mindset. But I know I've got 1 day or 2 days maybe at home.
So people are kind of shifting, but they're also kind of spreading that out over the week in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned also working in partnerships. So you engaged with some of our campaigns, the Chef's Manifesto, Beans is How. How did that come about and how have you been engaged? Like how have the frameworks been helpful?
Yeah, so like all these things, we talked right earlier on about my role is to listen and learn, and chefs will always go out and dig and be creative and collaborate together, won't they? And the Chef's Manifesto came about from probably collaboration and chef partners. So at BaxterStorey, we pride ourselves in connecting with great chef partners that will come and inspire our chefs. So we've worked with Bettina, Twee, Ali, Arthur as well so Kirk, we've got Josh Eggleton, we've got so many, Ruth Hansen. And that network, funny enough, when you surround yourself with great people, great things happen. Constantly there was this Chef Manifesto movement going and people were talking about it. And, the classic is, like everyone, I ain't been invited. Well, how do we get involved? What's going on? What are we doing? Well, that sounds great. And what started to happen was obviously we then started to get invited through our chef network. So Andy Aston and Lizzie, our head of nutrition, came along and came back and they were just infused. They were like, oh my God, everything we've been talking about, yeah, we're not the only ones on our own trying to deal with this people, planet, purpose mission. There's so many, everyone's got the same challenges. And so the Beans is How kind of was being promoted, obviously the global mission that you were overseeing. And they kept saying, this makes a lot of sense. And I was like, oh, funny that. Right, okay, let's have a look. So we started talking, and obviously what then happened, our chef partners started saying, yeah, Greg, it'd be really good to get protein on the alternative protein sources and educate the workplace. What can we do? What can we do? So I then listened, learned. I was like, this makes total sense. Why are we not doing it? It seems crazy not to. And also, you heard earlier, we pride ourselves in the business about knowledge is power and education. And if we could educate, what I was inspired by, if we could educate our chefs to be comfortable with working with alternative protein sources, that all of a sudden, because I didn't want a world within BaxterStorey where chefs are following somebody else's menu. I want the freedom to be able to express yourself, cook with fresh ingredients constantly. There's a lot of high street concept dining out there, and I wanted BaxterStorey to be known for a place where fresh food is cooked on site daily and that is good for you. And I thought, yeah, we need to get involved. And I'm delighted we have, because we've collaborated with yourselves. We continue to. The network just continues to grow, and it excites me even more about, there's a common goal. There's a lot of people that want to make positive change for a food and beverage movement.
So how has that been reflected in your business?
So, has it been? So, poor old Lizzie. So if we talk about Lizzie, she's been known as Carbon Lizzie to Bean Lizzie to now Sustainable Nutrition Lizzie. So it's really come into our business because the time's right. Timing's everything, isn't it? When we started to look at this, we wanted to get the floor excited about working with ingredients. So you'll hear me say this quite a lot. Reverse psychology is everything in our world. Chefs are wonderful human beings, but if you tell them what to do and how to do it, you lose their creative edge and they become robots and they become a bit soulless. So we got the chefs to want to sign up to this. We didn't tell them. We said, what do you want to do? And actually what then started to happen was, once the Bettinas and the Kirks and the Roos and the Alleys and everyone else started going, this is the right thing to do, it started to inspire the floor. And then once people started to understand that actually the opportunity to do great dishes with beans and working alongside, how can I put it in the nicest possible way, making beans at the center of a dish, rather than feeling comfortable. And that all came from skills of, from Ali and Bettina and everyone else, of how to use a product and be comfortable with it. And what you then started to find is it became a bit of a movement. We created, internal competitions around the Beans is How movement. We started to then feed back around kind of the way, unofficially, the way that obviously the bean purchases and lentils and everyone pulses, and people were getting excited about it. But more importantly, the customers were buying it. So when customers then start doing it and sales start, everyone comes on the journey. So we've been doing it now for probably 18 months, properly to nearly pushing 2 years. Our consumption has gone up around just over 14% in terms of purchasing. We've not even touched the surface yet. These are great chefs that have done it. We try and promote it, but we don't dictate it. We want people to come on the movement because they're inspired by a new world of cooking, authentic approaches, researching, and are passionate about it. But there's so much more within our business to do with the Beans is How movement.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, even just as a starting point, seeing those measurable shifts, but also not through mandates, but through invitation, I think is really something people can learn from. In your bio, you talk a little bit about a food manifesto and how it emphasizes sustainable nutrition. Can you just give us a bit more on what does that actually mean in practice?
So in practice, what does it mean? It means that the floor dictates to the supply chain of our food movement and what we stand for. In BaxterStorey, what I'm really proud about is that we are given the freedom to delight our customers. We are a brand, but we're an unofficial brand. Each client has a tailored dining food solution to their needs that mirrors their culture. That can create sometimes disruption. And what I mean by that is that freedom's wonderful if you know what you're doing with it. But if you don't know what you're doing with a free it can cause chaos in between. So our food manifesto is a UK and Europe food movement that brings, we call it Obsess One. Our Obsess One is to unite everyone with a common goal and obsession, which is our manifesto. The manifesto has been built by baristas and the chefs, not a boardroom. And so what we started to realise is it had to be from the floor upwards. And we've been working on it for the last 3 years now, we're obsessed, coming into year 4. And what that means is that there's non-negotiables. So those non-negotiables are built off for us 5 C's. And then 5 C's of everything we do will have craft, it's going to have community, it's going to have obviously creativity. Carbon got added, actually.
Okay.
That's a good point. Carbon got added. Probably 2023 we added carbon as the 5th C. And that was because we needed to educate the floor into understanding that it wasn't going away, but we didn't want to kind of preach it too much, but getting them, making them understand that carbon had to be at the... So our measuring tools of, what we will do is every time we want to bring something to our food manifesto, we will say, right, chef, tell me, where's the craft? Where's the creativity? Where's the community in there? Is there carbon story, or is there a great sustainable story? And is it going to bring some cheer to you as well as the customer? And if something's missing, we then go away and find it and bring it back, and we'll bring it in. What's happened is also part of that manifesto is that between North, South, East, West of the UK and Europe, we have what we call the 60-40 club. So the food manifesto is 60%. We're all going to do the same thing. We're all going to move together in the same movement, which is around, we don't do concepts in our world. We do food campaigns that we all get behind and we all work together to create positive change. But what we do is we give 40% back to the regions. And that 40% really is built of freedom for that supply chain. So we call them regional food heroes. So Scotland Larder, the wonderful Scotland Larder, will have 40% of their Scotland Larder. So London can't have access to the Scotland Larder. And even though we want to, we're like, no, that's what makes you different. Same with Ireland, same with Wales, same with the North, And what that does is lets all the heads of food in our business that report to me go out there and connect with their regional food chain and their supply chain. And also then that 40% is where we start telling our supply chain, this is who we're working with, this is who we're getting behind. So for argument's sake, Project Need was put together, not as a concept, was to give skill back to the art of baking in BaxterStorey. We gave that skill back to BaxterStorey. We trained, we wanted 200, and excuse the pun, from a marketing ploy, but 223 bakers in our business by the end of 2023. We ended up getting nearly 400 because the passion for bakery since COVID had come back. And what we then done is we realised the art of making bread and how powerful it was. So don't buy, let's bake. But also, if we're going to do it full circle, the full circle is that each region goes out and connects with its regional flour. So given the skill through our Chefs Academy and our Project Need bakers, they go out, they train their region, they train the art of making bread. But more importantly, they're only allowed to work with their regional flour hero to make it. So we're giving that back to their local community. And what we found is that then come Friday, our customers are buying it to take home for the weekend. They're loads of bread. So it's driving sales, but it was still connecting the community. And then that bread has turned to masterclass and masterclasses with bread with customers coming in. It's really, really, really took off, and it's been amazing. And that comes from this kind of food manifesto movement where you create a culture that everyone wants to be part of, and good things naturally happen. I think the other one to add to that is Soup with Purpose. So Soup with Purpose is the art of that is that we knew that when we wanted to start our food manifesto, every restaurant was built off the same things, There's always everyone wanted a great cup of coffee in the morning, they're all sick and tired of pods at home and wanted to come back and they wanted a barista coffee. Everyone was having soup, everyone loved a nice bit of bread. Everyone was looking for a lovely salad bar to eat healthily because they've been sick and tired of sandwiches. And also part of our manifesto is when we brought in Beans' How, and we were going to get beans on the counter as well. So Soup with Purpose, the great thing about that movement, again, is that it was about the 360. We all made soup, not necessarily very well. So we worked at the skill again, getting the flavour, layering it up, making a soup really, really good, nutritionally value. Then we started thinking, well, how do we collaborate and bring more in? I'm sure you've come across and met Jess from Waste Not. So we linked up with Jess and we said, right, actually, how about we make soup with surplus veg that would have gone to waste? We then make that a great nutritional soup with surplus veg. And actually, the most important, how do we then give it back to the community? Well, we give regional communities. So each RMD, regional managing director, would pick their team would pick a charity close to them. So we would donate from our soup, from great soup and good causes, we would donate to regional charities. So we raised over 10 grand last year as a result of just through soup, the power of the soup. And also in terms of that, saved a lot of kilos of surplus veg. So it's little things like that when we talk about a manifesto and those 5 C's of, the craft, creativity, community, and carbon and cheer, all linking together drives positive impact.
I think there's a huge amount to learn in that intentionality of building principles and really working. I mean, the scale you guys work at. So how many sites do you have? How many meals do you do roughly?
Yeah, so on average, I would say, we sum it up, we serve around 1 million mouths every lunchtime. So that is a massive responsibility. And that's probably where the mindset's changed as well. We probably didn't think like that at the time. It was just, we love doing our job. We love being around food. But then from our CEO down, you realise the responsibility we've got.
And the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, definitely, to do the right thing. And I think that's where the power of education's come. If we educate our own chefs, they can then educate the customer and in turn have a positive impact on the environment that they're in. But they've got to know what they're doing. And a few years ago, they would have pushed the science element of the new era kind of food and beverage kind of needs away. No. I don't need that. I know how to cook. And now the new era chef over the last couple of years is really embracing data, really embracing the science and getting excited about working with different products and ingredients.
So to close things out, I'd like to ask a question to everyone that we can all relate to. What's one thing you're loving to eat at the moment?
Oh, that's really good. I think...
Knowing we're in winter.
No, definitely. The team at the moment, constantly, as I said to you, with Project Need, they're feeding me a lot of bread, which is wonderful. Not always great for the waistline, but wonderful. And I've really enjoyed seeing that come to fruition. But I think for me at the moment, I've got braver with my eating. We talk about, we're focusing on sustainable nutrition within BaxterStorey, the art of making our chefs comfortable working with different lentils, pulses, beans. I'm starting to see myself now be braver with those food choices and actually excited to see certain pulses and lentils on the menu. So I'm not just saying that because you're here. The floor will know that, the team will know that. We are constantly going around and championing where's the beans, where's the proteins, where's the chickpeas, where's I think for me, that is where I've become even braver as an individual. The art of now not needing meat protein. I never thought I'd be saying that. I never thought. But actually, you will know and everyone will know less is more. There's some great meat protein out there. And, let's not take away that from some great farmers and that are doing great things. But I don't always miss it. And I think that's where I've got really excited about food, the way it's moved on and experimenting. But I would say we've also got one of the best things I've tasted lately. I said to you about authentic dining. So one of our fuel icon partners that we've just joined up with, Rinku, and a Bangladesh kind of food and curry and spices has been, when you get something and you go, yeah, what's in that? And you'll never, ever be able to replicate it. But it's just an amazing experience. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of chefs that are tapping into Rinku at the moment trying to get those recipes from her. But, yeah, no, I would say anything that's authentic blows my mind. It's really exciting. But also, like I said to you, the amount of pulses and beans and that are around in our business and what chefs can do with them really excites me.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show.
No, always a pleasure. And also thanks for sharing your expertise with us as well, Paul. Much appreciated.
Anytime. You've been listening to Future Fork, a show that explores the world of food and the decisions we can make today that will shape our future. Future Fork is produced by Disruptive Consulting Solutions and supports the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. For more info, head to the website futureforkpodcast.com. This show was produced with strategy and production support from Wavelength Creative. So you don't miss an episode of Future Fork, make sure to subscribe to or follow the show in your podcast app. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find the show. I'm Paul Newnham, and I'll see you in the next episode.